Ooh-wee. Shalom, 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 everybody. Shalom. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm feeling pretty good. Sun's shining bright. It's kind of cold, but yeah. And I'm ready for the next edition of Reading with Shilo. Reading with Shilo. And we're going to finish or go on to the next two chapters of Barak and Deborah United. Chapter 15 and 16. Man, we left off Prince Barak just had a meeting with Prince Abahu. And he wanted to pull some moves for him. And wanted him to leave Deborah alone. But he left. I think getting ready to go tell Deborah what happened. So we're going to see. Barak and Deborah United by Mary L. Windsor and Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. Chapter 15 and 16. Barak arrived at Deborah's estate in the late afternoon of the same day he left Prince Abahu. Deborah was inspecting plants and flowers in her courtyard. Seth, one of her young workers, entered. Mother Deborah, Barak has finally arrived with his soldiers. Oh, show him in. He must be tired, she said, pulling the end of her radish purple shawl around her neck. A few moments later, Barak entered. He walked with an authoritative gait. Peace, Deborah. He smiled and then asked, is all well? She took a few steps towards him and wanted to embrace him, but she caught herself and just returned a smile, not wanting to give the wrong impression. All is well. You must be tired after a long trip from Hebron. I'm just a little dusty from the long trip, he said, as he looked her up and down, smiling with admiration. What happened to the beautiful bracelet you had on your wrist? I gave it away, but I liked it, he remarked, smiling. Well, I'm sorry that I gave it away. At that moment, Seth passed through the other side of the courtyard. Seth, would you show Barak and his soldiers to the guest quarters so that they may freshen up? As the soldiers passed by Deborah and Barak on their way to the quarters, Deborah smiled and greeted them. I want to thank you for the great work you're doing for the safety of our people. And the soldiers responded in unison. Thank you, Deborah, for your kind words. Barak, we will have supper afterwards. I'll tell you an important reason why I sent for you. I am anxious to hear of this mountain-sized news, he exaggerated. Soon after, Deborah went into a meditation room to review everything that the Lord had told her. After she had been in the room for a while, she heard someone calling. It was Sarah, her handmaid. Yes, Sarah. A messenger brought a letter for you. It is from Caleb's estate. Deborah took the letter and put it into her pocket, intending to read it later. Thinking it was about their wedding plans. She continued to reflect on what she was going to tell Barak because this was a more pressing matter. Tripping. When they finished their supper, it was still daylight, and they walked outside and sat under a palm tree. But before they could begin their conversation, Deborah heard the voice of the little boy, Ben, calling from the other side of the gate. Mother Deborah, I heard that Barak is here. I want to talk to him. We're busy right now, and we have important matters to deal with, she said, with a low voice. Then she walked over to the gate. Seeing that Ben had lowered his head, seeing he was sulking in rejection, noticing that he had turned around to walk away, Deborah changed her mind. Wait, Ben. Deborah turned towards Barak and gave him a silent request with her eyes. Barak rose to his feet, opened the gate, smiled and said, come on in, Ben. It is so good to see you. Is all well with you? I'm fine, and I've been waiting for your return, and now you have come. Without request, Deborah walked to the other side of the courtyard so that they could be alone. Deborah sent for me, and we have a lot of business to discuss. Oh, I had a birthday last week. Now I'm 7 years old. Happy birthday, Ben. Here are some silver coins for you. I don't know about that one. That's not something. That's probably when they was doing right in their own eyes right there. They wouldn't have been celebrating their birthdays. Ben's eyes lit up like two bright stars. Thank you, Prince Barak. Thank you. You said you wanted to talk to me. What would you like to talk about? As Ben sat on the stone bench, he placed his elbow on his right knee and the palm of his right hand on his right chin and thought. I want to talk about things, he said in a cute and innocent way. What things, Ben? You know, things. My mother and sisters talk about girly things, and I'm not interested in those things, Barak. Where do babies come from? Barak smiled and said, they come out of the mother's stomach. How do they get there? Barak thought for a few moments and said, I can tell you this right now, but I'll promise you that by the time you reach 12 years old, and if you don't know the answer by then, I will tell you. All I can tell you now is that God helps in the making of the babies. Ben, is there anything else you would like to know? Yes, tell me more about camels. I see that you like camels. Ben looked at Barak and shook his head up and down in consent. Barak began to explain. It is easier to get on a camel when he is sitting down. If there is a saddle on him, you hold one. If there is no saddle, that's a good question. Then you hold on to the hump. Ben looked curious and then asked, what is in the hump? It's nothing but pure fat, my boy. How do you get him to move forward? You kick him lightly with your foot and making a clicking sound by pressing air between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. You mean like this? Ben made the sound. That's right, Ben. You learned very fast. Thank you so much, Barak, for taking the time to talk to me. I shall never forget you. And at that moment, they embraced each other warmly. There was a silence. Ben looked at Barak. Moments later, he looked up. Then he looked at Barak again. Could you be like I don't know how to say this, but could you be like a father to me? Barak took a deep breath. Ben, I'm a soldier, and I'm fighting against the enemies of our people. I don't know how I'm going to get the time to be a good father. I like you, and I want to help you, but tomorrow I shall be returning to my soldiers far away from here. The only thing that I can promise you is that if I am alive, I shall return. Is that understood? Yes, Barak. They embraced once more. Now run along home, Ben, and be a good boy. Ben smiled and said, I'll be good, and he departed. After Barak finished his conversation with Ben, Deborah returned to Barak and commented, I see that you are building a good relationship with Ben. Yes, he wants me to be like a father to him. That seems like a good idea. Now we can talk about things that's relating to war. Barak, I heard that you went down to the city of Hebron. Yes, I went to see the Prince of Abihu if he would supply the soldiers and weapons to help me fight Sisera's army. And what happened? I carry disappointing news. There will be no help coming from Abihu. This doesn't surprise me. He placed certain conditions on his offers that I couldn't accept. He said that Judah, his tribe, should be the ruling one over all the tribes. Furthermore, he wanted me to persuade the northern tribes to accept his leadership, and if they refused, he requested their names so that he could eliminate them. Lastly, he tried to bribe me with 5,000 shekels of gold to support his ambition. Everything has its place, said Deborah, and every man has his time. This is your time for national leadership, Barak, not Abihu's. Prince Abihu will not be king in his days. I hope not, said Barak. If he rose to power among us, he wouldn't be a good ruler. He would be only a butcher. Nevertheless, Barak, after many years, great kings will spring forth from his tribe, and the Messiah will arise out of Israel, and he will be a light and hope for many nations. Did Abahu say any more? Yes, somehow he found out that I had visited you on several occasions. He accused you of pulling away the loyalty of the people from the princes and the elders. Moreover, he wanted me to disassociate myself from you, and she interrupted. You don't have to repeat anymore, Barak. He sent me a detailed letter stating his views, but I would be interested in knowing what your reply was to him. I told him that he had wasted my time and that I would not have no part in his diabolical scheme. Also, I told him that you were a good person and that he had no right to talk to you in a degrading manner. I'm so proud of you, Barak, because you stood up to him. She lifted her hands up to embrace him, but she restrained herself, thinking that it would be in bad taste. Barak was ready to respond with his hands extended, but she sat down. She sat quiet for a while, looking down, and she looked away. Finally, she looked up at him. Barak's facial expression showed that he was getting anxious, and he broke the silence. Did you send for me to talk about us? The reason I sent for you is to talk about the war. I was very open with you about my marriage to Caleb, and as far as I know, nothing has changed. She said empathetically, Barak, have you ever thought about all out war will occur, about when all out war will occur? And what would be your geographical position and the position of your enemy? I've thought about it, but war plans change according to the situation. Tell me, Deborah, I beseech thee, why do you talk about war matters? Why do you talk about war matters? So that I can give deeper thought to what I'm going to tell you. Go on, he said. As you know, Barak, Sisera controls control of the Jezreel Valley with his 900 chariots, divides our people. Yes, this is true. Shalom, Jake. This situation cannot remain the way that it is for long. His control of this valley affects our unity, commerce, and our pilgrimages to the sacred site of the tabernacle. She inhaled deeply and exhaled slowly. The Lord appeared unto me and told me to send for you. This is his words. Go and draw to Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and the children of Zebulun. And I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon. Sisera, the captain of Jabin's armies with his chariots and his multitudes, and I will deliver him into thy hands. Deborah, do I understand you to be saying that you want me to put 10,000 men into the field against Sisera's 900 chariots, the rest of his horsemen, and his multitude? I'm not saying it. The Lord has said it, Barak. Before you come out of your mother's womb, God appointed you to be the deliverer of the Hebrews. Listen, Deborah. Listen, Deborah. My forces are poorly armed. We do not have any chariots. We don't have enough horses, camels, not even 600 swords and shields for 10,000 men. Sisera arrested all of the blacksmiths years ago. How can my men stand up against his multitude? He wailed with an unhappy look on his face. If you became more spiritual or become more spiritual, you will be able to understand what the Lord has said. It is the Lord who will defeat Sisera. It is the Lord who will deliver Sisera into your hands. To ask me to go up against Sisera, he argued, is like asking me to put a chicken up against a hungry lion. Barak, it is written in our holy books that if you trust in the word of the Lord, 5 of you shall chase on 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and our enemy shall fall before you by the sword. Barak listened carefully and stared at her with a long pause. Deborah, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go, he said, as he gestured with his hands. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will go not. As Deborah sat there under the palm tree, she closed her eyes. She became silent and she thought, he probably has a secret reason for asking me to go with him. At that moment, the Spirit said to her, go with him, Deborah, go. As Deborah sat there under the palm tree, she closed her eyes. She became silent. She thought, he probably has a secret reason for asking me to go with him. And at that moment, the Spirit said to her, go with him, Deborah, go. Well, Deborah, I'm waiting. Are you going to keep me waiting until the cock crows at dawn? And oh, Barak, I understand that your words, from your words, that the authority that God has given to you, some of it you want to give to me. I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor, for the Lord shall sell or give Sisera into the hands of a woman. Oh, man. Into the hands of a woman, he smiled with a look of uncertainty. I understand, he declared. However, by the look on his face, the words went in one ear and came out the other. Do you agree? She asked, watching his facial expression. Yes, I agree to all the words that went forth out of your mouth, he uttered, with a pensive look on his face. Would it be all right if we leave out early in the morning, she asked. The morning will be fine, and this will give me time to get a good night's rest. Finally, the time has come that we can confront Sisera and his army. I can't believe that this is true, and God has revealed it to you. The next morning, they arose early, and Deborah decided to take Nachshon and Sarah with her. She gave final instructions to her overseer, Madrich, and informed him that she would be gone for several weeks. Nachshon prepared one horse for himself and a donkey for each of the women, and a camel to carry food, water, clothing, and other personal items. As Deborah brought out a heavy clothing sack and a small chest, he said, Barak, will you help me? My pleasure, he commented as he lifted the sack up on the camel's back. Thank you, she said. I have everything in it but the kitchen sink. Well, at least we won't go hungry, he said, smiling. Oh, Deborah, I would need a lot of rope for the army. Can you spare some? Yes, Nachshon, get all the rope that you can find in the storehouse and give it to Barak. After a short while, Nachshon returned. Here is the rope, Barak. Thank you. Give me one bundle and give the rest to Captain Enoch. Finally, they took to the road and traveled the usual north-south mountain road that ran from Jezreel to Shechem and northward. Deborah rode in the front beside Barak, and Sarah rode beside Nachshon, about 15 cubits in the rear, while the 10 soldiers rode behind him. It was not too long before they passed through the center of the city of Bethel. They passed over the east-west road that intersected with the road that they were traveling. It was already warm, and there was every indication that it was going to be even warmer. Then Nachshon spoke up, Deborah, do you think we should water the animals at one of the springs in this area? Yes, that's a good idea. That way we can save our own water, she remarked pleasantly. They turned aside not too far from where Jacob had built his altar, and he called it Bethel, which means house of God. Deborah then made a movement to get down off her donkey. Let me help you, Barak volunteered. He extended his hand to her. That's so nice of you, getting down from the donkey. She felt the gentleness and strength of his arms. Then she moved quickly away from him. After all the animals finished drinking water at the spring, they continued on the road again. And Deborah thought about Caleb, but mostly about the impending war. She asked herself, did she partly agree to go to Barak so that she would not be around if Caleb came? Then she remembered that the Lord told her to go with Barak. Another point, she didn't even read the letter received from Caleb's estate. She was clearly avoiding those matters. Then there was a silence, and Barak didn't say anything. You look deep in thought. What is heavy on your heart, Barak? Deborah, I'm just thinking about my wife who died in childbirth. What about her? Well, there's some things about you that remind me of her, things like dedication, loyalty, and compassion. And at that moment, his horse stepped on a rock and jolted him for a few seconds. I think a lot of you, Deborah. I am promised to Caleb, and I believe there are many beautiful ladies who would like to have you in the way that you are thinking. Just forget about me, Barak. Well, that's very difficult. Even if I wasn't betrothed to Caleb, there are other stumbling blocks that stand in our way. There you go again, Deborah, building a 300 cubit wall between us. Now, what's the stumbling blocks? There are the responsibilities that I have for my business, my commitment to public service, and my spiritual interests. These things can stand in the way of a good marriage. I also have my business, my livestock, and I'm committed to the liberation of our people. Nevertheless, I take time out to write and visit you. Deborah stopped the donkey and turned to him and explained, "You're a good man, Barak. You are a prince of your tribe, and no doubt you have a nice sized estate. Furthermore, you're risking your life for our people. I admire these things in you, and any woman would. However, there is one thing that I need in my life that will make me happy, and that is a man who will grow spiritually with me. With all your good points, Barak, you are not at this level yet. Maybe you will get there 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, or 6 months. What can I say, Deborah? I'm only a soldier fighting for our people. Let me say this, Barak, the things I tell you are in great tradition of our ancestors. Our great ancestors were soldiers and spiritual men of God at the same time. Try to be more like Joseph, like Joshua. And if you try hard and pray, you will get there," she emphasized as they continued on their journey. Finally, they arrived to the city of Shilo where the tabernacle stood. Deborah and Barak informed the elders of the Supreme Court and the high priest about the fact that the Lord told Deborah to call for Barak to go to war against Sisera. Then the high priest said, "You have our blessing and our prayers. For what you have told us, it is evident that God has spoken to you. We know that elder or Uncle Yoetz prepared and trained you well." Ariel, the elder, reminded her, "He sat in this court for many years, and we see that the spirit of knowledge, wisdom, humility, righteousness, and prophecy abide in you. May God be with you always," said Ariel as he waved goodbye. After Deborah departed, one of the elders, who was on the military office of the tribe of Ephraim, said to Elder Ariel, "I think it is best that we mobilize an army on the northern frontier in case Sisera makes an incursion into our territory. As usual, our military expertise has been valuable," replied Elder Ariel. "Do you think it's best?" "Thank you, Elder. Do what you think is best." "Thank you, Elder," replied the officer. Continue northward for 12 miles. They came to the city of Shechem. This place was an ancient city of the Canaanites and located 41 miles north of Jerusalem and passed between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. This city controlled the important trade routes. They saw the beautiful gorges and traveled through the mountain passes while observing the lush green fertile valley with its yellow and purple wildflowers. It was just to the east that Jacob's sons shepherded their sheep. In this place, Shechem, the son of Hamor, violated Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. Deborah and her party stopped in Shechem to get water and to eat, and then they continued. As Barak rode along the road, he continued his conversation with Deborah. "When I first came to your house, I found you to be like a likable person, and I didn't know you were obligated under the Levirate law to marry Caleb. When I came to your house the second time, I got the shock of my life. A ghost appeared, and he was Caleb." "Are you saying that I misled you?" she inquired, as she looked at him at Mount Ebal in the background. No, I'm making a statement. It seems that I expected too much without knowing all the facts. Perhaps you are right, but don't blame yourself too much. You were only being a man, and I had not been sure what Caleb's final decision was going to be. Chapter 16. Chapter 16. They continued on the main road, veering slightly to the northeast, and came to the city of Tezrah, which was about 7 miles from Shechem. When they entered the city, they noticed the beautiful scenery of the mountains. It was here that they planned to sleep for the night. After they registered for their quarters, they sat down to eat. There was not enough space at one table for all to sit together, so they had to split up into two parties at the table on the opposite sides of the dining room. Sarah and Nachshon sat at one table, and Deborah and Barak and Deborah sat together at another table. The 10 soldiers ate and slept outside in the tents. While Deborah and Barak ate supper, they discussed the details of how they were going to present to the leaders of the tribes what the Lord revealed to her. The discussion included the logistics of the army, and they gave special attention to the areas of supplies, water, food, camping, equipment, and the mobilization of the troops. Well, I think that this covers most of everything. For any additional matter, we can discuss them with the elders of the tribes, commented Barak. And yes, I agree. When Deborah and Barak had finished eating supper, a group of strangers came into the inn. The head man of the group fixed his eyes on Barak, who was wearing a headdress with a gold band around it. Then Barak returned the glance with a nod of his head. The head stranger registered at the desk, and Barak heard him speak in the Hebrew Canaanite language. After that, a servant took their personal items to their rooms. The stranger looked at Barak again and noticed that the vest he was wearing had a golden strip around the borders with a fancy design embroidered on it. He walked by Barak's table to go to his room. Barak stood up and watched a tall, handsome gentleman that approached and introduced himself. Peace be to you. My name is Barak, Prince Barak of the Hebrew tribe of Naphtali. And you, sir? Lysimachus, Demetrius Lysimachus. He was a man in his middle 40s with black wavy hair. His dark brown tunic covered his tannish white skin. Where did you learn the Hebrew Canaanite language? Barak asked in amazement. Demetrius smiled in his charming way. I learned it from several Canaanite classmates in Egypt. Are you from the region of the Caucasus Mountains? No, I'm from the Greek islands. Oh, well, what brings you here to this part of the world? I just completed my studies in Egypt, and I'm returning home to set up my medical practice. Oh, I see. Then you're a physician, stated Barak with interest. Yes, answered the Greek slowly. Sit down. Have a seat, sir. I would like to talk with you further, Barak urged him with a slight smile. Thank you, I'll be glad to. By the way, this is my associate, Deborah. Deborah smiled and nodded her head in recognition. At that time, Demetrius introduced his 3 associate doctors, his daughter, and his brown-skinned wife, Isis, who he married after his Greek wife died in childbirth. His 21-year-old daughter, Hepshetsu, is the result of that childbirth. He kissed his wife, Isis, and the daughter told them that he would join him, and his daughter told them that he would join them. Not bad. His 21-year-old daughter, Hepshetsu, is the result of that childbirth. He kissed his wife, Isis, and daughter, and told them that he would join them in their quarters shortly. The medical associates also went to their quarters, and at that moment, Deborah spoke up. Excuse me, Barak and Demetrius. I'm going to my room, and this will give you, the two of you, a chance to get to know each other. Call me when you have finished your conversation with Demetrius, Barak. Barak nodded his head in agreement. Then both of them sat down on opposite sides of the table. Oh, Demetrius, is your wife Egyptian or Ethiopian? Egyptian. She is one of the daughters of the head medical college of the city of Memphis. In what area of medicine do you work? My area is surgery. Surgery. How wonderful. said Barak, smiling. Demetrius stared at him with his blue eyes. You said that you're a prince. Are you anything else? Yes, why do you ask? You dress somewhat like a soldier, and you have the air of an officer. Barak smiled and looked him in his eyes. Did you serve in the army? Yes, I was an assistant to the chief surgeon of the army in Egypt, and I served in the Ethiopian war on Egypt's southern border. As Barak looked down, he raised the palm of his hands and covered his face and eyes. And after a few moments, he lowered his hands to the table and turned to Demetrius. Then you have a lot of experience treating the wounded. Isn't that so? Yes, Barak. I want you to tell me the truth. Are you a soldier? Barak stared at him for a short while, shook his head up and down slowly, and smiled at him. Finally, Barak opened his mouth and spoke softly. I am the commander of the Hebrew army of the north. Demetrius took a deep breath, sat back erect, rubbed his brown beard, and asked, Are you expecting war, Commander? Barak lifted his eyes slowly. We are at war and have been for the last 20 years. Now we are approaching the final battle. Barak, are you thinking of asking me to serve in your army to treat the wounded? Oh, Demetrius, Barak said softly and diplomatically, I would be remiss and lacking as a commander if I did not seize this opportunity to request your expert knowledge and service. Therefore, I'm asking you to remain with us for 2 or 3 weeks, and I will make it worth your while. But I have other plans. I'm supposed to be at the Aegean Sea in 2 or 3 weeks. If I had But I have other plans. I'm supposed to be at the Aegean Sea in 2 or 3 weeks. If I had not missed my turn at the city of Shechem, which would have taken me westward to go to the Great Sea and then northward, I would not have been here tonight. You see, said Barak, it was destiny that led you here. Destiny. Yes, destiny, said Barak. Some unforeseen force guided your steps here. Why do you choose me? Someone that is so different from you and your people. There are good doctors as they are other good doctors, as the Egyptians, the Libyans, and even Ethiopians. I know I've met them. My dear brother Demetrius, you are also the son of Adam, just as I am. When I crack open a brown egg or a white egg, they are all the same inside. When I'm hungry, I am not to deprive myself of the good eating of an egg just because its shell is white. In view of this, I'm asking you to remain with us. You are a very wise commander, by the way. Who are you fighting? Asked Demetrius. Have you heard of Sisera, the Canaanite? General Sisera? Yes, I've heard of him. He has almost 1,000 chariots. Do you have such a number? No. Barak looked embarrassed and lowered his head. How many men do you have, Barak? Barak hesitated for a moment and then he spoke. 2,000, mumbled Barak in a low tone. That's all, Demetrius asked emphatically. We shall have another 8,000 soon. Demetrius shook his head from side to side. You have only 10,000 men against Sisera's chariots and his entire multitude. Man, that's suicide, declared Demetrius, raising his voice. Only 10,000 men? Surely you don't expect to win. Barak hesitated. We do expect to win, he said, staring at Demetrius. The Canaanites are unconquerable. It was King Thutmose III mitten the empire at Megiddo, not far from here, about 350 years ago. This is true. However, In all respects to you, you are not Thutmose III of Egypt, Barak. He said softly. Furthermore, do you know that Egypt... Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second, right quick. Give me a second. Check on my boys. My bad. My bad. Check on my boys. All right. Should have got me some more water. Man. Man. Where was I? There we go. This is true. However, in all respects to you, you are not Thutmose III of Egypt, Barak, he said softly. Furthermore, did you know that Egypt was a powerful nation, an empire, and the most advanced nation in the world? Yes, but there is something else I haven't told you. The lady Deborah, who you met earlier, is a prophetess, and she has said that we will win. Did she look into her crystal ball? Barak appeared offended and replied, I don't know of any darn crystal ball. After noticing that Barak's facial expression had changed, Demetrius backed down. Excuse me, Barak, for being abrupt. I'm not going to get involved in your business. However, I did detect the spiritual quality in her eyes. Whatever she told you, this is between you and her. I've said enough. Well, I'll just change the subject. And by the way, Demetrius, a few moments ago, I mentioned King Thutmose III of Egypt. He is a man that I admire greatly. This is understandable, concluded Demetrius, pulling his brown tunic up on his shoulders. Thutmose III was a good king and a great military leader. It is only natural that you would admire him. Barak leaned forward and looked at Demetrius with inquisitive eyes. Demetrius, tell me, what did he look like? He was tall and had a robust build. Continue, prompted Barak, looking anxious. In addition, he was a pure Hamite. He had thick lips and a broad nose and woolly hair, like the sheep that graze in the valley. Barak asked again, was he very dark? Of course, he said, darker than you. He had a bold and commanding appearance. You should travel to Egypt, see the world, and broaden your knowledge. Barak looked contemplatively. Barak looked contemplative. Finally, he spoke in gratitude. Demetrius, I do thank you for your sincere advice and concern. However, I do wish you would reconsider the offer to stay and take care of our wounded. If Cicero wins, you will not need my help. You will just be slaughtered. He will just slaughter everyone. Furthermore, it would just be too risky for my group to remain in the war zone. We would just be too conspicuous in if your enemy wins. I understand. Well, I guess that's it. It's getting late. Demetrius stood up, and I am sorry, Barak. I like you, but I cannot give you the yes answer at this time. If circumstances were different, I probably would. He made a slight bow and then began to depart. Oh, Demetrius, if you should change your mind, you will be able to find us west of the Sea of Galilee. Just ask anybody and they will tell you. Demetrius shook his head up and down with consent and stared at Barak with sympathy, taking a deep breath. Exhaling slowly, he mumbled in a low voice, Cicero. Then Barak watched him walk away to his quarters. It was now a little after midnight, and Barak sent for Deborah to join him at the table in the dining room. Deborah came and listened attentively to Barak and to everything that he told her about the Greek. Deborah raised her head. When Demetrius told you that he was a physician, I had a suspicion that you were going to ask him to remain and help take care of the wounded. You did? Why, yes, but but it is understandable that he will refuse you because of his prior duties and because of your fight with General Cicero's overwhelming odds. Do you think that he will change his mind? I really don't know. We shall just have to let the Lord take care of it. But there's one thing that you have on your favor. And what's that? He likes you, she said, smiling. After Deborah's last words, there was a silence, and her mind turned back to the letter she had received from Caleb's estate. She had avoided reading it because she did not want to face up to the reality of the marriage to a man she did not love or trust. However, as she sat there, she decided that she might as well read it, freeing her mind of the contents. Therefore, she could concentrate more deeply on the impending war, the impending war effort. She took out the pouch from her garment and opened it. And at that moment, she unrolled the parchment and read the letter slowly. While reading the letter, she opened her eyes and mouth wide in surprise. She took a deep breath, and tears ran down her cheeks. The Lord has answered her request, she said, crying. What's the matter, Deborah? What is it? He asked, eagerly leaning forward. I received this letter from Caleb's estate. What did he say to hurt you? It isn't what he said. It is what he can't say. Explain that, Deborah. Don't keep me hanging, he demanded. This letter is from his sister, she said. He gave up the ghost on the 9th day of this month. What? How? Asked Barak in shock. He was found dead in his bed, and the cause of his death is unknown. Then Deborah wept. Why do you weep, Deborah? You admitted that you didn't love him or trust him, asked Barak, with roughness in his voice. I weep because his soul didn't use the chance it had on earth to correct itself while it was in his body. If we pray and wait on the Lord, he will always work out his purpose for us. Even though, his purpose for us. Even though we may not understand it in the beginning. Where is the soul of Caleb at this moment? It is in heaven. Does the soul have any kind of physical form? No, it doesn't. Not in the sense that we are familiar. She looked up and leaned towards him. You must understand, Barak, that when our souls go to heaven, we are neither tall nor short, pretty nor ugly, thin nor fat, Greek nor Hebrew. It is an eternal soul abiding in the eternity of time, learning and preparing itself for the next mission and journey on earth. As I listen to you talk, Deborah, it seems that you are on a different, or should I say, on a higher level. Maybe you're trying to say spiritual level, commented Deborah as Barak shook his head up and down in consent. Deborah continued to read the letter. Then she noticed that there was a document under the letter. Caleb's sister, named Emeth, went out of her way to obtain a court document that stated the following: the Court of Gilgal. After a complete investigation, the court has determined that there are no surviving eligible males of the deceased Caleb ben Lapidoth to fulfill the duty of the Levirate marriage with Deborah Lapidoth. The court hereby grants Deborah the freedom and the right to marry anyone else if she so desires. Elam ben Eber, judge. Love ben Aram, judge. Salah ben Mash, judge. Judge. The three elders of the courts of Gilgal signed the letter. After reading this document, Deborah told Barak about the details. Then she commented, "Blessed be the name of the Lord, and blessed be those who wait on his great mercy." She sobbed softly with trembling in her voice. My dear Deborah, the heavy burden has been lifted from your shoulders. Caleb, may he rest in peace, is no more. Now where do we stand, Deborah? Deborah looked at Barak with surprise. Caleb's body is not yet even cold yet, and you're asking me where do we stand? Yes, I'm asking you, Deborah, where do we stand? What we stand where we are. We stand where we are. What does that mean? He inquired as he unfolded his hands in front of him. You have a duty. God has chosen you. Yet, you never talk about God. I am not sure that you understand the spiritual importance of your mission, she reminded him bluntly. I've never dealt with spiritual things before. You have, and in that sense, you have more experience. Experience. You can become more spiritual. If you let the Lord use you in this way, then you and I have more in common. Barak appeared to be deep in thought, looked away and said, I see. She continued. Okay, hold on. Let me finish, all right? I'm almost done. I got it. This is the last page. She continues, the last page. The Lord chose you, Barak, to lead Israel into battle. And he chose me to help his people, to comfort them, to guide them, to assure them, and to encourage you that you will rise to the higher spiritual level, and to encourage you so that you will rise to a higher spiritual level. But do not reject it. If you reject the idea of trusting in God, then God will reject you at that very time you need him. What you are saying sounds good, Deborah, but it is hard. It is hard to change over to an idea that you are not used to, he remarked, turning his head from side to side and took a deep breath. But you must try and try again and again and again. Finally, you will be victorious. If you can do this, there is a greater chance that you can make it, that we can make it together, she assured him. As she took hold of his hand and comforted him. You are tough. You are a tough, likable woman. Well, Barak, it is time for us to retire for the night. I'll see you at dawn. He escorted her to her room and gently said, good night, Deborah. Deborah really liked Barak. She wanted him, but she wanted him to grow spiritually without coercion. She believed that he must see the light and the truth from within himself, and not just because she said it. She hoped that in her heart that moment would come. Until it came, she decided to hold herself back from him. She concluded that she would not even let him kiss her. Before Deborah went to sleep, she told Sarah all the details of the letter that she received from Caleb's estate and about his death. Moreover, she informed Sarah that Ophrah, the servant of Caleb, had decided to remain with Emmeth since she inherited her brother's property. Man, and that was chapter 15 and 16. Chapter 15 and 16 of Barak and Deborah United. Man, I was messing up a lot of words enough. I was reading all right. I read all right. Deborah she waited on the Lord. The husband she didn't want to marry died. Now she got the okay. She want Barak to swing her way. Swing her way. She trying to play Red Rover, send Barak on over. But she want Barak to be more spiritual. She want Barak to be more spiritual. Yes, sir, spiritual. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what they're going to do. They're about to go to war. They're about to get it going with Sisera. They're about to go to war with Sisera. They scared of them chariots, boy. Everybody's scared of them chariots. And when I see people down here riding on swingers, man, I think about the chariots all the time. I think about the chariots and Ben-Hur. Man. Chopping up people's legs. You scared of them chariots, my boy. Daddy might have to try to build a chariot. Yeah, but hey, Barack didn't waste no time. What's going on with us? What's up? What's up? What's up now? What's up? That's the news you wanted. What's up? What's happening? You about that life or what? You want to be my wife? You about that life?
Oh, what's that film, Daddy?
It's probably the thing. Cough drop.
That. What's that shoving in the mouth, Daddy?
The cough drop.
What's that shoving in the mouth?
It's a cough drop.
Yeah,
Yeah, but man, it's getting good. We're getting to the end. The book has 25 chapters in it. 25 chapters. Next is 17, 18. Man, we almost into 20. We almost into 20. I kind of want to keep going. Kind of want to keep going. Kind of want to keep going. 17, 18. Man, I want to see what's going to happen in the war. In the war with Sicily. But we'll come back next time. We'll keep that 2 chapters. 2 chapters for right now. I'll probably come back later on. I might come back later on if I'm still feeling good. Come back later on and read 2 more chapters. And we almost got the book out the way, man. And this book is, man, better than I thought it was going to be. Definitely better than I thought it was going to be. Barak and Deborah united. Mary L. Windsor, Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. Definitely some Bible stories in here that I can pinpoint. Definitely some Bible stories I can pinpoint. But we'll see. Till next time, man. Reading with Shilo. Thank everybody, man. Thank y'all for rocking with me. We're going to keep pushing. We'll try to come back later on and read the next one. But until the next time, man, shit, check me out. Shalom.